Sean Hook's Newsmaker Saturday starts now.
Thanks for joining us on Newsmaker Saturday. There is worry and concern as Title 42 expires May 11th that we are heading for an unprecedented crisis at the southern border, and that's saying something considering where we've been the last couple of years. Just to bring you up to speed, Title 42 empowers the federal government to prohibit migrants from entering the country to prevent the spread of contagious diseases. Now, the Trump administration used COVID as a pretext to implement Title 42 and keep illegal border crossers out of the country. The Biden administration has also used this, but it is going away in 2 weeks, and that presents a huge challenge. The Chief Border Patrol Agent for Tucson Sector, John Modlin, joins me now. Great to see you. Thanks for coming up. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You've got the biggest border section in the country. The end of Title 42 to you means what?
So, interestingly, to me, the end of Title 42 certainly means we have to do things a little differently. As you stated in the opening, Title 42 gave us the ability to expel migrants out of the country, so they were not entered into the legal immigration system, Title 8. They weren't processed that way. What this will do is mean that everyone that's encountered between the ports of entry where the Border Patrol is will have to be processed by Title 8.
Okay, so, and we see a video of people who are coming across, streaming across. We're getting reports from border sheriffs that there are 700,000, perhaps to 1 million, illegals preparing for when Title 42 comes to, quote unquote, storm the gates. Is that true?
So I have not seen that, and I suspect what they may be talking about is the ports of entry and potentially people lining up behind the ports of entry. If there was a thought where a lot of people were going to stage a move, then you think the traffic would slow down, in the last week or so, but it really hasn't.
It's been consistent.
Yeah, we remain about 20% ahead of where we were this time last year.
Chief, when we see these kinds of pictures, I think people at home, a lot of folks are saying, what in the world is going on? Do you have an answer?
So I have an answer that is that migration is incredibly complicated. So there's always push and pull factors. People may get pushed out of where they live because of economic reasons, because of a natural disaster. They also get pulled places as well. They believe that they can have a better life in the United States. They may believe that there's something here for them, that they have a legal path to citizenship potentially in the United States. So it's complicated, but there's pushes and pulls to it. Okay,
so roughly, this is a rough calculation. The United States, roughly the equivalent of the entire population of Ireland, has illegally entered the United States since President Biden's been in office. That is an astronomical figure. And I think people are wondering, and you're caught in the middle, it strikes me, because you can only carry out the policies that are above you. You don't have ability to do policy on your own, right?
So absolutely not. So yeah, our job is to enforce the law, and we do that regardless of the administration. Okay,
so with what we're looking at, when these border sheriffs say that they feel like they're not getting direction, what do they do? I think they're worried in these communities along the border they're going to be overrun.
So the border sheriffs so my sector has 4 border counties. We've got really great relationships with the border sheriffs. Some of them have even camera systems down along the border. We work cooperatively with them. If they see illegal entries, then they'll let us know, and then we can respond to that.
Okay, I want to play a sound from, I guess, your boss. This is Raul Ortiz. He is the U.S. Border Patrol chief. He was testifying before Congress, and he was asked if there's a crisis and whether Alejandro Mayorkas, Homeland Security Secretary, is not being truthful when he says that the border is secure. Take a look.
9 southwest border sectors from San Diego to here to South Texas, Rio Grande Valley. 5 of those southwest border sectors are experiencing a higher level of flow than we have seen previously, and that creates some unique challenges for us, and it puts a strain on the overall immigration system.
He was being very honest, and I watched your testimony. You as well were very honest. You said that the term being used up till now was unprecedented, and you said what we're seeing now, you don't have an adjective for. That was quite a statement.
Yeah, so, and that is absolutely true. And I was talking about the difference between, fiscal year 21, where apprehensions tripled from the year before that, to fiscal year 22.
Right, it was 190 in 2021.
Yep.
But 18, 19, and 20,
Yes.
it was 60,000 in your sector.
Yes.
21, 190,000. 2022, 250,000.
Yes.
Can you guys possibly have the manpower to handle this?
So what I'll tell you is that it is absolutely a challenge, but we've done a lot of things to assist with this. So what I've recently done is I've asked some of our federal partners for assistance. They are sending people to us. We're using agents that are on the northern border in places that aren't as busy on the northern border. Yeah, well, they're actually processing virtually from there. Okay. So they stay home, not stay home, they're in their stations and they're processing. The other thing that we've done recently, which has been fantastic, is we've implemented these positions called Border Patrol Processing Coordinators. Basically, it's a civilian position that works right alongside the agents in the stations and can process for us. So lets me put someone in a green uniform back in the field while someone else is doing the sort of mundane tasks of gathering the biographical data and entering them into our system.
And that's what you hear a lot from border agents, is that they say, we're spending a lot of time processing people. We become de facto social workers.
Yeah, so well, what I'll tell you is this, is that fortunately for agents in the Tucson sector, things have absolutely changed, but what's different is a lot of places like Yuma sector to our west and El Paso sector to our east is where you see some of these images that you showed, where people are walking across the Rio Grande and they're turning themselves in, and they do that in Yuma, they do it in Texas as well. We generally don't see that in the Tucson sector. What we see is a population that runs from us. They're all head to toe in camouflage. They are doing everything they can to avoid apprehension.
Wow. I wanted to get to this before because we're running short on time. You have made a big push that Americans are being sucked into this smuggling business. And I think the number, 2,500 arrests of Americans in southern Arizona last year.
Yes, so
who were getting in the smuggling trade.
Yeah, so the number's a little bit less than that. It's about 1,600. The 2,500 was actual charges. Some people charged multiple times, but it's about 1,600. Here's the disturbing thing: is this new trend started about 2 years ago, is the recruiters are using social media to lure young adults in. So what's happening is someone's at home on Snapchat, or the other one escapes me. Instagram, yeah, one of those things. And an ad pops up and says, make $1,500 to $10,000 for a few hours work. And they respond, and then they get told, drive down to the border, go to this area, pick these people up, bring them back. And what's happening is it's a combination of young, inexperienced drivers, overloaded vehicles, so now the handling characteristics have changed, and they're told not to stop for law enforcement. Oh, and nobody in the vehicle is wearing a seatbelt because some are in the trunk, yes. Some people are laying down. And so when law enforcement tries to stop them, they swerve in oncoming traffic, they get up to very dangerous speeds, and it's causing, civilians have been killed, the migrants have been killed, some of the smugglers have been killed, and it's really changing the trajectory of these young people's lives. We did some social media posts on them and showed 3 young smugglers from the Phoenix area here who had their lives completely changed. Some college students that now have felonies on their record, people that lost scholarships. Obviously, it's a big deal, and I don't think they recognize that they're just being used by the cartels.
Yeah, I appreciate your time. It's great to see you. Good luck down there, and I hope we keep in touch, and we'll speak to you as Title 42 ends.
Absolutely, look forward to it.
John Modlin. When we come back, I hope you stick around. Peloton instructor Kendall Toole on her newfound fame and a battle with depression and mental illness that nearly killed her. Next on Newsmaker Saturday. Welcome back to Newsmaker Saturday. Maybe you are one of the millions of Americans who found a new addiction, a healthy one, Peloton. It's a great workout. The instructors often become extended members of your family. Yes, it's a workout, but it's often a life lesson all wrapped into one. And one of my personal favorites, she's irreverent, brutally honest, and hilarious, but she's also become an inspiration to millions of Americans suffering from depression and mental illness. Peloton instructor Kendall Toole, kind enough to join us on Newsmaker Saturday. Great to see you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, John. I really appreciate it.
I have spent 75, my calculation, 250 rides at 30 minutes. I've spent 7,500 hours with you.
I'm always, thank you for enjoying that time. I would find myself to be quite annoying for 7,500 hours. So I'm deeply shocked and appreciative that you enjoy it.
Kendall, when you got into this, it was about 4 years ago, I think now.
Yes.
Did you have any idea the impact you would have on people and the connections you would make through fitness?
Not in the slightest, not at all. I mean, truly, I really was looking forward to a job in fitness. I was excited to be out in the world and hopefully empowering people to move. It was a way that I loved to do that previous. I went to school for film and television and never thought I'd be a fitness instructor, and somehow found my way at the Mecca. So to know that that storytelling, that platform that I've now had connects to so many people and helps empower them is just, it's truly a dream come true. And it feels like such a wonderful blessing to get to have that every single day.
Okay, you started off in gymnastics, dance, then you end up kind of taking a detour into boxing, which was kind of odd. But when we see you on the bike, you're a strong, you are a very athletic woman. Mm-hmm. How did the bike come into this whole thing? How did Peloton find you?
To be completely candid, I was enjoying cycling classes, but I was really focused at that point in time in boxing and in teaching boxing fitness. And I'll tell you, it was the best DM slide I have ever had on Instagram or social media. And one of the instructors, Rebecca Kennedy, slid into my DMs. And then I continued to talk with Cody Rigsby, who a lot of you all know and love.
Of course.
And it fell into an audition that then turned into a week later being asked to move to New York City and move California, my home from 16 years. So it all just kind of, it just happened, believe it or not. It was a great social media DM slide.
Yeah, sometimes life finds you, right? Now, about the Peloton, I have to just ask you a couple of things, because I think people who do this and ride, as I do, they're curious. Do you do several rides a day and tape them, or do you come in every day and grind it out?
So we have a rotating 2-week schedule. And usually when I come in, you'll see my live classes. A lot of them take them live. And then our members also can have access to them on demand whenever they want. They want to ride at 3 in the morning. If they're in a foreign country and have the app available to them or have a Peloton available to them, they can take rides whenever. When I'm teaching and training, oftentimes I'll have a live ride, and then we'll even record more rides or more shadow boxing, which I also teach on the platform. We'll record that after. So yes, I do, and I take pride, because I'm going to try to do this for as long as my body allows. Whatever I call for resistance and cadence, I am right there with you taking the ride. I might be on the lower end in a metal ride because I do need to speak, but overall, yes, I am right there with you every step of the way.
I was going to ask you about that, because I'm thinking you have got to dial back your resistance, because we're all grinding out, huffing and puffing. You're talking, often singing. You've got a great voice, by the way.
Oh, goodness, thank you. I finally,
do.
It seeps out sometimes. I appreciate that.
So I'm just curious how you possibly manage that. The cardio going on and trying to sing. This is like Janet Jackson on stage,
Well, it's interesting. Actually, a lot of artists and individuals who take our classes, there's incredible professional athletes and artists and all these other individuals that are also Peloton members and fans. And a lot of them will actually take our tread classes, take our classes, and be singing their own songs in the class while they're running or while they're walking to build that cardio capacity. So I think I liken it to the fact when you get used to it and you do it all the time, your body just adapts. It's a beautiful thing to watch your cardio capacity evolve because, pressure's on. You understand from having that red light on the camera. I have the same thing. It's go time. It's live. You got to do what you got to do.
And you owe it to the people to give them everything you've got in that time frame.
Yep. And there's a level of responsibility, but also a level of commitment to, I know that those numbers on that leaderboard, they're not just numbers. Those names are not just names. Those are people with stories, and they're bringing their moment. They're taking time out of their day. They're giving me 30 minutes or sometimes 45, sometimes an hour. So to me, I take it upon myself. It's my responsibility to give them what they're looking for me, what they're looking to receive from me.
Kendall, do you plan the ride like the night before? Do you plan the music? Do you kind of plan out how you want that ride to go?
Yes. So every single Peloton instructor, and that's why it's so beautiful when people find their fit. you're peeking behind the curtain of their mind, of what they're into musically, of what new music we had released. We have an incredible music team that does a great job getting all of the newest tracks and even releasing some incredible artists that are very hard to get. So yes, we plan our classes. They are due at least 24 hours in advance. I do my best to meet those deadlines. Sometimes it's hard. But yes, we're the ones building the story, building the playlist, and building the program for all of our members.
Well, and if you read between the lines during a ride, I feel like I can tell when you're in a either a spat with your boyfriend or in a breakup mode. Some of this kind of sneaks out, like when the path is going this way and he's not going that way, you take off. And I mean, it's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, the fun part is, as of lately, there is no boyfriend to speak of. So maybe we've sensed to some of the happy single Kendall energy that's been coming through the bike as of late.
Yeah.
But yes, it's true. And I think what's important and what you recognize is that we all connect to each other through our own life experiences and storytelling. And oftentimes the motivation that I give out on the bike is the same things I'm trying to tell myself. And I learned that, and a lot of my teammates did as well during COVID and during pandemic when we were teaching. We weren't around a lot of people to take inspiration from. So it really became a vulnerable process of exposing kind of our inner worlds in a safe way and connecting to each and every single one of you. And I think there's a level of formulaic success in that. I think that's why Peloton's extra special, because all of my teammates and I really do give our heart and we give ourselves to you guys to create that connection and hopefully build that community.
Well, and I think through the mental health aspect of your life, you've been very honest with people that you went through some struggles, and people look at you and they say, what could she have possibly been depressed about? At the time, you're a senior at USC, straight A's, film school, cheerleader at USC. And you were leading almost a dual life.
Yes. There was the masking life, the life that I presented for the world to see, because I had these expectations on myself. I had expectations from feeling like I couldn't really expose my vulnerability, and not because I didn't have a wonderful support system. I'm currently in my parents' home right now. They've been the reason I'm still here in many ways, but I have a certain brain that's wired to have anxiety and depression, and it's something that was beyond my control, and it's something that I wanted to hide from others at the time because I felt like I would be a burden. And when I got through my very dark episode at college and then continued into the workforce and the workplace in tech and media, and then finding my way magically almost and beautifully into fitness, that platform became a responsibility, because I noticed after about a year, who I really was feeling like I was back in college again, that I was masking, that I was showing this perception of bubbly California Kendall. And really, there was a lot more going on internally, as there always will be for the rest of my life because of how my brain is. So because of that, I started opening up on social media, and then I'm really proud and supportive, and I love Peloton for this. We came and created the mental health awareness rides, and we do them twice a year. We also have created mood content. So if someone's feeling angry, sad, anxious, joyful, spiteful, even, or rageful, we've created classes to help honor those emotions and create the space to feel those things so that we can continue to move forward. So it's become this beautiful evolution.
Kendall, what did that teach you about the truth and people's capacity to handle the truth?
I deeply believe we are all built to be as honest and vulnerable and human as possible. We live in a world, and I contributed to this when I worked in tech and media right out of school. I worked for a very well-known app, and I contributed to codifying the language about presentation and, in a way, hiding our authentic selves. And we need this more than ever in the world. I think pandemic taught us this. It's human-to-human connection, and it's being honest and open and vulnerable. And the only way that we can really move forward, the only way that we can really develop a world where we can thrive in, is if we acknowledge both our pain, our vulnerabilities, and where we all come together in that struggle. Mental health does not discriminate. It doesn't matter where you come from, what socioeconomic class, race, religion, any of it. It can affect every single one of us, or it affects you by proxy. So when we can connect to each other through that, I think there's a beautiful amount of development and growth and way for this society to move forward. And so it's important to be vulnerable. It's everything.
You came perilously close to taking your own life. I think it was in Thanksgiving of maybe 2015. Is that about right?
It was Yes, 2014, because I graduated the summer of 2015. So it was my senior year of college at USC.
Is it true you were literally on the top of a building and thinking of taking your life?
Yes, it was absolutely seconds away. And I've discussed this on another platform, on another interview. And in that moment, I had this flash. And when I tell you, it was beyond my understanding where this came from. However you want to describe it, now I see it as like my faith. I see it as something that God stepped in and gave me this vision. But I saw what would have happened to the people that I love most, my parents, my brother, had I continued with the decision I was about to make.
And then you look at your phone.
Yes, and in that moment, I looked at my phone thinking of my parents, and I had 15 missed calls from my mom. And I had my phone on silent, and to me, that was the clarification of, don't do this.
Yeah.
There is more there.
So your mom, in a sense, saves you from that rooftop, but then as you went through, I think it was 3 months or so of real tough therapy and trying to dig yourself out of this, your dad really was the one who came to your rescue.
He really did. So to be completely candid, right after, I do remember I picked up the phone. I said, Mom, I need you to come pick me up. My parents lived in the suburbs of LA at the time, so thankfully they were only about an hour away. And the rest of those next 3 months were my brain has blacked out. There's not a lot that I remember. About a couple weeks into that process, I remember my dad pretty much begging me at that point, like, honey, you need to get out of bed. You need to shower. Like, the most basic of tasks were incredibly challenging for me to do because I was in the darkest of depressions. So we have a saying in my family, and I remember growing up with this, even growing up in our previous home where we had a basement, he would have a boxing bag in there. And whenever he had a tough day at work or a tough anything, I'd hear the chains rattle from the basement on that punching bag. And I love it. It's still one of my favorite sounds to this day. And my dad came up to my bedroom and he kind of sat next to my bed and he said, kiddo, this is it. He's like, what do we do in this family? I was like, what do you mean, Dad? And he goes, life can knock you down. And I know this is knocking you down, but it's your choice if you're going to let this knock you out. And that now is the phrase that
Yes.
I close every single one of my classes with. I say, you are worthy, you are ready. They can knock you down, but they can never knock you out. Because at the end of the day, the getting back up, the choosing to move forward, that's the one action, that's the one step that changes your entire life.
Kendall,
it's in that one decision of, even if it's 1 inch more, one more opportunity, it has been the motto that has kept me here today.
Yeah. We're putting up the suicide hotline number throughout this interview, so that you know that.
I love that.
I think it's the most profound thing you've probably done. I think you'd admit that. But I'm curious, I mean, these Peloton instructors now have become celebrities. I mean, I look at Cody Rigsby, Dancing with the Stars. What does Kendall Toole want to do down the line? I'm curious.
I love that. I love this question. The most beautiful thing is that I'm a firm believer that what's for you will never pass you by. There's a lot of wonderful opportunities that are bubbling up in my life. Number one for me, though, is continuing this conversation on mental health. It's continuing to be an advocate. I would love to see significant change, both policy-wise in this country and in our states, to help this next generation, to help this current generation navigate their way through this. I think that's absolutely number one for me, is continuing that conversation. From there, who knows? It's having other conversations with individuals about mental health, kind of like what we're doing now. Maybe it's a book, maybe it's a podcast. And of course, as the Trojan that I am and the film girl that I am and the cinephile, I would love to start producing and creating content that shares true female, exposed, vulnerable stories and can provide representation for people who look different or feel different or go through different things to feel connected and have an enjoyable time. I think we also have to find the comedy in some of the challenges of mental health because it affects so many of us, and laughter is a great medicine. So hopefully I'd love to produce some content in the future and do that too.
Kendall, thank you for being a part of my life, even though I've never met you, but you have been an inspiration to a lot of us. So I'd like you, if you will, to sign off as you sign off.
I love that. Okay, you're going to do it with me though?
I'm going to let you do it.
Okay. Okay, I'll do it. So usually what I have everyone do is they put their fists up and we say, you are worthy, you are ready, and John, they can knock you down, but they never knock you out.
Never.
Go stay in that.
Kendall, great to see you. Kendall Toole, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for taking the time and continued success.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, John. Have a beautiful day.
Got it. Take care.